glad to talk to you again. You haven't got fed up of listening to me so far, maybe. Maybe some have fallen away, but anyway, we'll continue. I'm doing this, I want to share this maybe in this way, that because I've got all this material which I have written down and which is in the Grand Design books and so on and other books, that you know, this way I can maybe introduce more of how it relates to me and my journey with it, and maybe that in that, without going on at length, that there'll be something that you will find interesting. And one of the things, of course, that again, it came up in the material, and it's something that obviously affects us all, is to do with expectations, and how expectations perhaps rule our lives in many ways, you know. And we obviously can't live without expectations in a way. Or being human, I think, is difficult too, you know, that we can go from day to day and not expect anything, or that we don't have something to look forward to. There's something by way of an event, or maybe win something in the lottery, or do something extraordinary, that something really exciting will come into our lives and so on. And, you know, perhaps that we get a bit fed up with the drudgery of life and the sameness of life, and we want to find some way of changing that. So inevitably we get into the whole way of expectation. Comes into, obviously, when we're looking at life and the things that affect us very much, it comes into the relationship, that wanting to meet the soulmate, if you like, or that comes into careers, that we find the sort of career that we really love, or that we have expectation of perfect health all our lives, and that we'll be free of all sorts of disabilities and all sorts of, particularly that we function very well mentally all our lives, that we won't be dependent on anybody. So expectations are, I suppose, in a way, part of the bread and butter of life, the way of living. Now, it's an interesting one in terms of the physical world, because we're dealing with time. We have time moving all the time, from season to season, from year to year, and we're in many ways, if you like, controlled by time, because it's how the world runs. But in spirit, as I understand it, there's no time. It's hard for us to understand that. So it's an eternal now in that way. So if we're in that, obviously there isn't an expectation, if you like, because now is now, and we get that freedom from expectation. So if we want to be free from expectation in the physical world, the more that we can live in the present, understand that there's no, essentially there's no past, there's no future, because we can only live in the present, then that we can find more that freedom from expectation. One of the things that one of my other communicators, actually, that I'm maybe talking about later, I brought that up about the thing about expectations, was that, well, one of the things about being human, maybe a nice thing about being human, is that you can have surprises. You know that in the spirit sense, obviously it doesn't come up that way because when then it's not part of the time factor. So I'm musing about this in terms of understanding that part of the human thing is having expectations, and that sometimes it's very nice to have these expectations, but at the same time that they can be very limiting for us, and so that the more that we can be free of the burden of expectation, then obviously the better it is for us. So once again, maybe in terms of how we are in accepting our humanity, accepting that we are dealing with the burden of the physical as best we can, and that maybe that is nice sometimes to look forward to things, but at the same time that we won't allow ourselves to be controlled by that expectation, that we can somehow say, well, you know, that it's things will be as, yeah. And also too, I think it's important to remember that if we do have an expectation in some way about something, and that we want it to be a particular way, you know, that we feel that we put all our energy into wanting it to be a particular way, and then maybe it will work out that way, but perhaps it wasn't at all maybe what was best for us, that would have fitted in more to our purpose. So again, I feel that sometimes there's a way of working with, okay, that it's good maybe to set aims for ourselves and what we'd like to have happening in our lives, but that, and Chewbacca brings this up too, that's part of the thing of being physical, like that we like to do things and so on, and that maybe writing down things that we'd like to see happening in our lives. But then understand that maybe in 6 months' time that mightn't be at all what we wish for. So we can see perhaps that it's better that it didn't work out that way. So that the way to do it perhaps would be having made out the list of what we'd like to see happening, that we hand it over to our guides and ask them to help to make things happen in ways that would fit in with our whole purpose, and then that we'll see maybe, and I think that's true, that things turn out much better than we would have thought, that say if the original thing that we've been looking for has happened, that it wouldn't be nearly as good as what happens eventually. So again, also what it's doing is that helping to work with the energy of, like that our guides are channeling in the whole energy of the universe, that's loving energy, working around us, and that we're flowing with that, and that it's helping us in that way. That it's like how, just a rough analogy again, how a drop of water is in the ocean, but the ocean is in the drop of water, and so that the ocean is supporting the whole drop of water, so that when we move into that way of working that way and trusting that helps to bring about the things that we would wish for, that we'd like to have happening for us in the best possible ways. And joyfully too, that's one of the things that we don't have to suffer, you know, this is not part of our destiny, having to suffer. We tend to bring a lot of suffering on ourselves in the way that we work, perhaps by imposing difficult expectations on ourselves. So I leave that thought with you, and thanks again for listening. Bye for now.